Huasha Tianzu, and welcome to Shift+F1, a podcast about speedy race cars. That, by the way, is Chinese for drawing a snake and adding feet. An expression meaning to do something unnecessary or excessive. Are the 2026 regulations a snake with feet? We'll get into it. I'm Drew Scanlon. Joining me, Danny O'Dwyer. How are you, Danny?
Look, man, it's my feeling that, snakes should not have feet. This is...
It's the best of all worlds, Danny.
Someone else is coming in. Oh, wait, no, snakes should have feet. Snakes should have feet. There you go. That's the F1 discourse right now.
I see. Also joining us, Rob Zachney. How are you, Rob?
Doing pretty well. It turns out I think I like snakes with feet. They can slither, and they can run. They can slither and skitter.
If you are new to this podcast, a very warm welcome to you. And if you are new to Formula One itself, a fascinating time to start watching. We've got an episode just for you, though. Our preseason primer episode assumes no prior F1 knowledge and explains how the sport works and who everybody is. So if you'd like to go back and listen to that and get up to speed, it's episode 338. Also, this show would not be possible without our audience over at patreon.com/shiftf1, where every month we release ad-free versions of this podcast early to patrons, along with bonus podcasts and videos exclusively for our patrons that cover racing documentaries and films, F1 video games, experiments with other racing series, and a lot of weird things. So if you would like to support the show and get access to all that fun stuff, head over to patreon.com/shiftf1 or click the link in the show notes. What's going on in Patreon land this month, Danny?
I have a little pitch for you, actually, for one. I know we're in the middle of our double header this month. We're doing 2 Patreon-exclusive pods because we had to catch up for February. And we're doing Drive to Survive, of course. We're splitting it into 2 episodes. Traditionally, we did 3. This year, we were like, how should we divvy it up this time? We did 2, I think, the past 2 years, maybe. And 2 felt right. And I think,
there's 2 fewer episodes this year.
Exactly. Yeah. They're a bit denser too. I don't want to spoil the pods, but the first episode will be going up this Friday, which covers episode 1 to 4. So you'll get that on Friday, the 13th. I wanted to pitch something. I thought with all the new regulations hitting Formula One, it might be fun if you guys would let me host a Formula 2 primer.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's an amazing idea.
All right, we've never done an F2 one. Kind of was unnecessary in some ways, but now with, especially with new folks or people who have, who are reminiscing or wishing that their cars were less like snake with feet, maybe this would be the time to do it. And there's a bunch of interesting drivers in F2 this year as well, some of whom may end up going through Red Bull. So, you got to make sure that the latest crop of young talent for the Red Bull machine to chew up and spit out, that we know who they are ahead of time. So, what'd you think? Does that sound like a
That sounds
good
great.
idea? Okay, cool. I like it. I've been watching F2 for years, so I'm happy to host that and bring you guys into the wonderful world. Maybe we'll chat a little bit about F3, because the differences are not all that different.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I love doing primers. They take a lot of effort, is the thing. And so this is perfect.
Yeah, we've not done one in a little while as well. Not that I don't enjoy doing the movies, but I was just thinking about it over the weekend. I bet a lot of people are looking at those sprint races and feature races and wondering what it's all about. So look forward to the Drive to Survive stuff this month, like we said, the 13th, and then the other one we'll see next week or the week after. We'll get them done. We may have a gap coming up in the schedule as well, so that might be
very true.
Yes. Thanks to geopolitics. Keep politics out of F1, they say.
They sure do, Danny. In our inbox is where they say that.
Oh, funny, there was some connection between all these Why do we have all these races in the Middle East? I don't know. You also mentioned in the document that apparently the second to 4th episodes of Grand Prix Driver are no longer available.
No. Yes, according to emailer Malcolm, who surmises it's because of Honda pulling them down. But whatever the case, you can watch the first episode apparently on Amazon. But patrons can listen to us discuss the entire thing.
Yes.
So
we don't censor here.
That's right.
Unlike certain countries. Oh, sorry, keep politics out of. Sorry, my bad. Massive shout out to all of our incredible title sponsors who support us and allow us to do this along with all of our patrons. None of them have political names, I'll tell you that much. Thank you to the Military Industrial Complex, Warizzle, wow, 2 in a row, RIP Egberto, and Igor Furman. TVGP.tv, that video game podcast. Let's Margo Racing, I Ching Wells, Dr. V, Deange, It's a Me Ferrario, AI generated content, Mojo Nixon, Get Rich O'Die Ryan, Agave ATX, Cyphus Training, Turf SCS, Michael Maves, Cigarettes, Telemetry Deck Racing Team, FTC, Badass Calendar 2026, Drew Stewart, Super Clippy, Bailey Foot, Abraham Getchell, The H Button.
Oh,
Happy 30th birthday, Patrick!
Hey!
Happy 30th birthday, Patrick. Great name, by the way. Great time as well to have a birthday right on the eve of St. Patrick's Day, your day.
Hey.
Thank you, by the way, for getting rid of all those snakes. Clearly, they had feet because you were able to chase them off of the island very fast. Bunny Witch, Snigs, the artist formerly known as Walker, Alex Goucher, Max Voltar Keyboards, Jeff Foster, Troy Stammer, William Rumpf, Lachlan the Maddened Man, Samurai Love Story, and Jason Kelly. Thank you all so much for your incredible support. Let's talk about this ridiculous race.
Do we need to explain why we have so many sponsors named like cigarettes and...
I don't know. Yeah,
Is that explaining the joke?
Maybe it's explaining the joke.
Right.
The idea of F1 having sort of too many sponsors on the car is part of this, and also...
and those with like, maybe disreputable reputations.
Usually. There are books written about this, you know what I mean? Like several, including even energy drinks.
Oh my
Something you'd think would be particularly, laissez-faire and uncontroversial. Some of those are even steeped in criminality, allegedly.
We joke about the disrepute of like cigarette advertising on cars, and yeah. But now they're all covering AI shit, and they're covering crypto shit. And like, admittedly, the cigarette companies were directly selling stuff that like killed people. But here's the other thing: unlike AI and crypto, you got what you paid for with a cigarette.
True.
Like
That's
there was
true.
an honesty. There is an honesty to a pack of Marlboros that is lacking from a perplexity inquiry. Also, Drew, I was looking. As far as I can tell, there's only one person who complained about the politics.
Oh, okay. All right.
I love
only
it.
found one person. It's incredible. I follow F1 podcasts such as yours in part to get away from politics. Your decision to infuse politics into your F1 podcast has led me to delete it from my follow list. There are plenty of other F1 podcasts that stay true to the sport without trying to make it a political platform.
It's great. Look, Tories can listen to this podcast too if they want. It's fine. Let's not platform the vocal minority. You know what I mean? Shout out, by the way, to everyone on the F1 Reddit who was recommending Shift+F1 to people.
Hey,
That was really pleasant to see. Like you said, there are many other F1 podcasts, but
this one is mine.
A lot of them are exactly. A lot of them are full-time people.
Stay true to the sport.
Doing this, and but it's honestly, we're as confused as you that so many people listen to this podcast. I mean, we put a lot of effort into it, but we don't go to the races. We have a different vibe here. We're like the MTV2 of F1 podcasts.
Okay. All right, let's get to the Australian Grand Prix. Kicking things off here with the grid. The grid. Up at the front, maybe not surprising, Mercedes. George Russell on pole. What is surprising to me, at least, is Kimi Antonelli in second because he had a heavy crash in free practice 3 after he hit a curb and spun. A lot of that going on. We'll get to that. Backing into a wall and sort of pinballing across the track. Incredibly, the team gets the car rebuilt for qualifying.
Yeah, helped a little bit by a by a red flag
Yes.
during quali as well. Yeah, it was a really bad crash. I was surprised that they were getting the car back, and sort of like everyone expected, the Mercedes were definitely sandbagging pretty heavily during practice as well. But obviously in the testing, their pace was intimidating and didn't bode well for the race.
And the weird stuff continued into Q3 with Antonelli because Mercedes sent him out of the pit with cooling fans still attached to his car.
Yeah.
One of which fell into the racing line and got obliterated by Norris.
How Norris didn't get a puncture from that is beyond me, because those things are not like, that thing has a battery in it.
Yeah, it's like a leaf blower.
Yeah, it's like a leaf blower stuck onto the side of it. Antonelli also had what we thought might have been an unsafe release, but it sounded like one of the pit crew had like stepped over the line in the pit lane. Apparently people also have lines, not just the cars. So there was like multiple penalties sort of hanging over Antonelli over the course of the weekend. But the thing about a lot of these is that like they could end up being fines for the team rather than sporting injunctions on the racer. And yeah, I think rightfully he managed to avoid any of those. But I was surprised. Yeah, God, that leaf blower thing was crazy, because like Lando nailed it. Like the thing just like shredded.
Yeah. Third place, Isaac Hadjar, in his best qualifying of his short career. It's his second year in F1. Starts third in the first race of the season. About a half
in a
second.
Red Bull.
In a Red Bull. About a half second off of the Mercedes.
Which immediately makes you think, second driver, like, qualified in a Red Bull. Like, we hadn't seen that.
That's true.
Somebody do well. Obviously, we haven't seen Verstappen, where Verstappen is yet, but we'll get to that.
Sample size of one, but yes.
Yes, fair.
Fourth place, Charles Leclerc. Fifth place, Oscar Piastri, which is, maybe a little surprising from the previous year's champions, but they did have some gremlins in practice. And also, like other Mercedes customer teams, seemed visibly surprised at Mercedes' pace.
Yes.
James Fowles of Williams, who also uses a Mercedes engine, was like, wow, we didn't see that coming.
A lot of this has got to do with obviously the power, the electrical components of these cars, because the power units are identical, but aero is going to be less of an issue this year. Just it feels like how they not just like run the power, like how the power is installed, the size of it, all that sort of stuff on the battery side, but also deployment is a big part of
Yes,
this.
when
So
and
we'll
how.
probably see that gap change over the course of the season.
Yes. Sixth place, Lando Norris. Seventh place, Lewis Hamilton, and the other Ferrari. Then the Racing Bulls of Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad, the rookie, starting ninth.
Yeah.
And in 10th, Gabriel Bortoleto, who did not set a time in Q3 because in Q2, his engine quit in the pit lane. And Lindblad nearly rear-ended him. This was a pretty scary moment because you're coming, like the pit lane has a blind corner and you do not expect a car to be stopped. Or maybe you do. There is, sometimes you get a cue coming into the pit lane, but he did well to avoid him.
Yeah, my friend who's the marshal was stationed at right at the end of the pit lane.
Oh.
I knew that prior to the race. I haven't talked to him. I was like, what happened there, guys? But they were waving double yellows, but you don't expect a car to be stopped in the pit. That's you know what I mean? So who was it? It was Lawson. Yeah, you're right. It was Lawson slowed down, right? But then it was
Bortoleto.
Okay. No, who
had,
Bortoleto,
right, because there was another
broke
car.
First. Yeah, it was the second.
So Bortoleto
one.
was stalled, and then I think you're right. I think it was Lawson who had previously stopped just behind Bortoleto, and then
it was Lindblad who did the save,
running around the corner.
Second best save of the weekend. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yes. Starting 11th, Nico Hulkenberg, followed by Oliver Behrman, then Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly, Alex Albon lines up 15th. Then we've got Franco Colapinto, Fernando Alonso, Sergio Perez, Valtteri Bottas, the two Cadillacs in 18th and 19th. Valtteri got a stay of execution for his 2024 penalty that he incurred in the final race before he was let go. He did not race in 2025. So the thinking was that, when he starts in 2026, he'll have to carry over that penalty. But just in time, the rules were amended to say if the penalty was more than 12 calendar months ago, you don't have to serve it. So thankfully, he'll get to start in 19th and not 22nd.
I thought it would have been funnier if they put him in. I
think you're right.
I was upset. Like, he couldn't care.
Right.
I thought that would be funny, but whatever. Good pub quiz answer too. Who got a penalty that they served 18 months later, or whatever.
That's true. In 20th, Max Verstappen, who, as you said, Danny, caused a red flag when he crashed out in Q1. Sort of a weird moment. Not really, certainly not a move you would expect from Verstappen. Not really a place either that you would expect a spin to happen. He apparently got a surge of power that he was not expecting, which is something that happens to another driver, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Maybe they changed the explanation, but the way he was describing it was the rear axle locked.
Yeah, that's
on
what
the
I
radio.
heard too.
What he felt was that because we saw this a few times where the recovery system. We might as well talk about this part of it because it's relevant. It came up a lot in qualifying. So one of the things that is really different about F1 this year, and I think really changes car behavior on the track, is that the cars start harvesting energy really aggressively, and in places you don't necessarily expect them to be slowing down heavily. So already, like through a lot of qualifying, you would see a lot of moments where it's like, is that car in distress, or is it just like really slowed down because it's harvesting? At Australia, turn 9, which is that you're coming off the really fast, swoopy back section of the course, and then there's this like flick to the left that you take at ridiculous speeds before you make a right-hand turn. That's a long, flat-out section, and there were a couple times that people were coming up on another car approaching turn 9, and the thing looks parked because the energy harvesting is cutting in so aggressively. These things are slowing down really, really intensively. It's also, as anyone who has driven a heavily like electric or hybrid vehicle has probably experienced, harvesting feels different than brakes. Like they act like brakes, but it has a very different characteristic, which is throwing the drivers off a little bit. But this is all very complicated, and because they're so aggressive about harvesting, there's times that can impart really unexpected handling characteristics. And there were a few drivers, and Max was one of them, that have reported things like, I think Stroll had this happen in practice as well, where like the back end just seems to seize and the car just like boomerangs. So that is, and it seems like endemic to these cars in particular, and they're chasing it down. It seems to be a gremlin, but it also seems so closely tied to the fact that these things are really greedy for energy and will kick on that like really powerful harvesting system. Sometimes without warning, it will behave in odd ways.
And whatever happened to Verstappen was sort of at the extreme end of that, because it's like right at the end of the straight, right as he's about to brake, and I mean it like fully locked up. Like I'm glad he was all right, because it could have been we never like seeing cars at full clip losing the rear.
Those aren't where those are not where the accidents are supposed to happen.
No,
we talk
exactly.
about like these courses, they profile how the accidents are going to happen.
Yeah.
Nobody is expected to go straight off at turn 1, because like that is just not where the mistake would happen. You might have contact around there, but the idea where you just go flying straight off the track, and then the rear swings around, you start like skittering across the grass like a stone on water.
Yeah.
That's not what they designed this stuff for.
Especially on purpose-built tracks, because like there are some that would have, like Monza, for instance, has a straight, an escape road at the end of their first turn, but like you're not gonna get that at every track, and especially Melbourne, which is a public park road most of the year. They don't have that there. So yeah, it's the crashes that happen where you don't expect them. The worst version of this being Grosjean, for instance. You don't expect the car to go off there, so that's you end up hitting a wall head on. At full clip,
go through a metal guardrail.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, glad he was all right, but
he did have X-rays for his hands because he gripped.
He kept his hand on the wheel.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he kept his hands on the wheel, because it was a decent amount of gravel before he hit the wall, but he held
commentators
on.
were saying that some drivers do that, like intentionally.
Right.
I don't fully Yeah. So here's the thing. I've also heard though the cockpits are so tight that it can be tough to find space to get your hands off the wheel, and it can be worse to have the wheel with your not in your hands whip around like a hammer.
Yeah.
And nail you that way. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And obviously, like, the solution might be create more room in the cockpit, but that'll never happen. We'll give you just enough room to escape a burning pyre. And beyond that, you're on your own.
Yeah. Well, Max Verstappen and the two drivers behind him on the grid, Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll, all failed to set a time, which, we sort of talked about in the primer. If you don't set a lap time within 107% of the fastest Q1 time in qualifying, the stewards basically have to give you permission to race. And this is...
That's why it's called qualifying.
That's why it's called qualifying. And that's why we say that it's rare for a driver to actually fail to qualify, because really that rule is there to prevent, like, debutantes or people who...
It's a holdover from an earlier era of F1 where, like, you could just show up with a car.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, I'm going to race in the Grand Prix. And it's like, well, is that car capable of it? Now,
is that driver capable of it?
Yeah. So that doesn't happen anymore. They've sort of allocated spots on the grid. So the rule is vestigial. I was so F1 pilled. I watched tons of practice.
Oh, me too.
Oh, I watched all. I watched everything. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was just guzzling F1 content. And the thing is, we should talk a little bit about the bad form for Aston continued, and heading into the race, there was debate about whether they can physically race because the car's vibrations are so bad. These are not ground effect vibrations. That era is over. So this is not like the porpoising that was rattling drivers around. But both Alonso and Stroll reported vibrations coming so badly through the steering wheel that they felt they were risking permanent nerve damage if they raced a Grand Prix length race with the car in the state it is in. About 10 laps in, it starts to get really painful. You kind of have to punch out before 20 is how they were describing it. And remember, Lance had a bad cycling accident that he was back in the car really quick from, but he'd like hurt his wrist. And then that wrist didn't appear to be fully healed. Like later in that season, he had more bad, like a wrist break that he had to rehab from. So, as someone who's had like a few joint reconstructions in a left leg, something just like just jimmying it like a high frequency and fucking with it, it's like a nightmare.
This wasn't just an old man Alonso situation. It was,
but an old man who's hard as hell when it comes to racing. Like Alonso saying, like, I don't know if I can race a full race here. He's always quick to be like, I'm the most heroic and bravest man in the world. You should have seen the incredible driving I did. But the thing he's not quick to do is say, like, I won't race. Like, that dude, you can carry him into the car and he's good to go. For him to be like, this can't be done is, I don't think I've ever seen a car this. Can you think of a time when drivers were like, physically, we can't drive the car?
I mean, the only thing was the porpoising with Ferrari. Yeah, but this seems worse because, like, they're literally saying, like, oh, and we'll see it in the race. Like, they just need a break. You know what I mean? Like, they can get back in the car after a while, but not immediately. Yeah, it's not a good look. One of my favorite things though on the F1 sort of online discourse is the idea that Aston have somehow galaxy brained some down the river changes to the rules around the engines, and that, like, actually what's going to happen is, like, they're going to come, they're going to downgrade the power of these so the super clipping doesn't happen, and then now that they have this, like, super light centrally located battery engine thing, that, like, they're gonna, it's just, there's a bit of copium going on about it, like Adrian Newey's master plan, 5D chess. They're obviously not in a great spot currently.
They did seem to mitigate some of that vibration. I do recall some radio messages saying like, "How's the vibration?" They said, "It's fine." So they do take the start. They do get a fair way into the race, but we will get to their ultimate fates. But before we get to the race, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the start. Well, I guess we're not technically starting with the start because we're starting with the pre-start. Or not even the pre-start. There is an actual pre-start now. Before the pre-start, Oscar Piastri in the wall.
The recon laps. This is when they take the cars out of the pits and drive them around to basically go to their grid boxes before they even do a formation lap. Yeah, I mean, look, I think we talked about the Aussie podium curse last week. It is one of the most remarkable
Danny,
series.
what did you do?
I know, and I tweeted it like 5 minutes beforehand. I was like, can he break the curse? Can't wait to see the start. Like how
he thought
he
he
does.
was going to break the curse, and the curse broke him.
All right. So, like, no Aussie drivers ever ended on a podium in Australia, which is, or is it Melbourne or is it all? Does it include Adelaide? I don't know, but it's wild considering they've had drivers like Danny Ricciardo, Mark Webber. You know, there's like plenty of drivers who are at their peak and who just never, for some reason or another, Oscar
Danny had a
Piastri
drain
last
cover,
year,
like come racing out of the ground at him, right?
he drove into a drain cover. He went up on the grass, remember, and like just like shredded his car.
But he also got on the podium once and then got DQ'd for a technical infringement.
Oh my god!
And then Piastri last year in second, sort of sympathetically, does the same off the track adventure as Lando does in front of him, and ends up spinning out on the entrance to the pit lane, kind of out in that grass area. So like it's just very strange that this keeps happening. But this crash, you know, it's a mixture of he eats too much curb on the exit of that turn. He gets a push of 100 kilowatts.
Yeah,
he wasn't
I've got
expecting.
a quote here, which ties into what you were talking about, Rob. He says, this is from Autosport. We had a couple things going on. I think the first part I want to stress is that there is certainly a big element of it that was me. Cold tires. I used that exit curb every lap of the weekend, but I didn't have to. At the same time, I had about 100 kilowatts extra power that I didn't expect, which is not insignificant. The difficult part to take is that everything was working normally. It's just a function of how the engines have to work with the rules. So that's the part that's difficult to accept. It would almost be easier in some ways if we just said there's cold tires and I was optimistic. But when you add in another factor like that, it is always even more painful. So
heartbreaking. Especially because like that, I mean, those stands are packed full of people there for Piastri, you know, just nobody wanted to see this happen. It was just an absolute bummer when it happened. I was gutted as well.
Yeah.
Well, and picking up right where you left off to some extent, right? The lapses, small lapses, huge outcome. I still think like Oscar is an exceptional driver and is going to have a great career. This is just a lousy start to the campaign.
Yeah. A Grosjean-like start. You know what I mean? Remember when he crashed under safety car and you're like, how does this stuff happen? And then you see Piastri doing it.
Thank you for
like,
reminding me. We need an IndyCar Minute at the end of this. I know. Okay. So now that we can say like we can say like wild shit when it comes to politics, and like one weird guy emails us. The number of people who are like, it really bothers me when you talk about IndyCar in my F1 podcast, which I can sort of understand, but I'm just saying, just the
picket line. Is that what it is?
It's just like it's people don't want to hear about like they don't if they wanted to follow IndyCar, they follow IndyCar and they're here for F1, which I kind of get, but like I'm here for the racing.
Yeah. Put a little bit of sugar in with your spice. Hey, look, I'm going to do an F2 primer.
I need to bring up with IndyCar. So
I'm going to do a Formula 2 primer that's got Colton Herta in it. So, like, you know,
there you go. I forgot about that.
Fuck, I keep forgetting that dude left IndyCar.
Yeah, the streams are mixing. Okay.
All right, so to get started here, we have first the pre-start, which you'll recall from the primer is when it's like 5 seconds before the lights actually go on, where everyone gets to spin up their turbos because we need to do that now. Yes. Then the lights go on. And Danny, once that happens, can you take us through the start?
First of all, we need to talk about the lights going off, because this is the fastest I have ever seen the 5 lights turn off in my entire lifetime of watching Formula One. So here's the thing. I heard people reporting that like the start person, whoever it was somebody said they were cheeky. I think Leclerc said they were being cheeky. Yep. I was under the impression from a previous primer we did or something that was semi-automated, that the window of the 5 lights from them going on to off, nobody knew about.
It's like a random time.
That's what I thought.
Within a certain window.
But I perhaps not. But the lights go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off. Like, it was ridiculous how fast they were. There was also, after the race, claims that Russell had jumped the start because his car does roll forward after being in the pit box, but it doesn't happen within and he doesn't roll out of his pit box as well. So it was within the regulations, but there were some people saying like, oh, he did it because of what happened last year with, I forget who it was. So that was already sort of a little bit of a weirdness to the start of this whole thing. The thing that we were talking about prior was how the Ferrari has a smaller turbo, and that has been allowing them to get out faster from having faster starts, basically. And this is essentially what happened immediately was, the Mercedes had kind of had rough starts. Hadjar actually managed to get a jump up the inside pretty good. But leading into turn 1, Leclerc was already ahead of everyone.
Yeah, tough to know if that's a turbo thing or if they just... Russell looked like he was fishtailing. Like, it looked like a lack of traction.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, doing these starts sometimes is like pretty easy because 1 or 2 cars do bad and everyone else is kind of normal. But on this one, it was all over the shop. Like the first, even the opening 2 turns, there was such a big mix-up. This didn't get covered enough during the race, but Franco Colapinto.
Oh my God.
So Liam Lawson, the thing that everyone was terrified of, which is someone's going to stall, right? Stalling on the grid is one of the most dangerous things that can happen, because essentially it's not the car behind them, it's not necessarily the car behind them, but the next car that's coming up at full clip doesn't know that there's a car stalled in front of them because the C's part directly in front of them, and car right there. This basically happened with Colapinto and Liam Lawson, who had a horrid start. The replays of this are absolutely insane.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the show notes.
The view from Colapinto's car, here's something I didn't fully appreciate. You can't tell until it's pretty late that the car isn't moving. Yeah. Like, because you're surrounded by cars. All it looks like at first is just another car that's in front of you, because the relative motion and position is actually kind of tough to pick up at the starting line. And then suddenly it's just like right there in your lap. And so that was the part where I'd always been like, yeah, it's risky, but like surely you can immediately tell like when someone in front of you is stalled. No, you can have eyes on it, and it's still like there's so many cars you're tracking. That is just one of them. And it was it's harrowing.
Because he doesn't need
it's not even really like fast save.
It's not even like he avoids it like a wall. Like his car like bends around him.
There are offboard shots that I don't see where he missed. It's incredible.
It's crazy. Absolutely great. So I think F1 would have had like sort of egg on its face on that one pretty hard, and Colapinto probably got them out of a lot of criticism on that one. But incredible move.
After the first 2 corners, it is Leclerc, who, again, also has an amazing onboard shot of him just threading the needle up to first place. Russell in second, Hadjar third, Hamilton fourth, and then a few corners later, Lindblad has made it up to fourth, another harrowing onboard. And then we see him scrap with Hadjar and Hamilton through that left-right turn 9 complex that Rob mentioned, getting as high as third place before Hamilton sweeps by.
These opening laps are just like literally this never happened in the previous season, but I'd sort of tick off things that were notable lap by lap. And like I have something for like multiple items for like 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9. Like there was so much happening in the opening phases of this race. In part because I think we can probably like zoom in here on the Russell Leclerc duel.
Yeah.
In particular, as they're battling for first place. There's a lot of action on track. There's a lot of overtaking, but some of it still has that artificial quality of there is such battery dependence, and cars are so vulnerable the second they run out of the juice, that it is very easy to have an overtake happen, and then immediately the position is retaken. And there was a lot of that sort of gamesmanship going on between Russell and Leclerc. Leclerc, having sort of had that good start and being in first, sort of had the high ground for a lot of the battle, because he didn't have to use battery. So every time Russell had to burn battery to overtake Leclerc, Leclerc was able to just like now use what he'd been holding back and regain that position. On the other hand, to me, it felt like such a good chess match where they're using battery, where they're doing more of their harvesting was changing lap by lap, and where they were trying overtakes was changing a lot. Like, this is the previous era. There were so few viable overtaking places at every circuit, but this was especially true in Australia, where like really, end of the start finish straight was one of your prime areas and heading to that first, heading to that first sector. But like, there weren't that many places to go give it a shot. Drivers were giving it a shot around the outside of 9, which is just a wild amazing place to be doing this stuff.
And this is the thing that I think, a lot of the conversations and controversial moments, especially when it came to, let's say, Verstappen, over the years, have been that has it been overtaking or has it been outbraking? Like, so many of the quote unquote overtakes have been people breaking down the inside, forcing everyone to basically crawl out of corners by blocking the route for the car ahead, which is fine. But like, when that's pretty much all that was happening in some races, and especially in the parts that mattered, you kind of forgot that like cars can, the track is wide. Cars can do this in lots of places. Some of this is obviously going to be sort of downstream from the fact that the drivers are getting used to these cars. We'll talk about this more with how we feel about the use of the battery and how much it's playing a part.
I think we could talk about that now.
There's lots of schools of thought on this. Like, F1 messed this up, but there's going to be... I'm really happy that these regulations are as dangerous as they are, because we can always walk it back, or we can always tweak it from here. I think it's good that they've decided to do something revolutionary, because we can always find out what works and find out what doesn't work. And
you mean like bold instead of like endangering people?
No, sorry, that's what I mean. Yeah, dangerous.
His grimoire needs more pages.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bold. Yeah, because you can always. It's exciting. It's mix it up. Let's attempt to find new ground with this sport. I don't care that the drivers have to work more and don't like it. That's fine. Like,
it's funny seeing who doesn't like it. And it's,
as well. Hamilton apparently does.
Right. Norris doesn't.
And also obviously drivers who are not as good as last year in their cars are going to think that too. And I don't think that. And like, I'm listening to Verstappen, and I don't think that their thoughts don't matter or anything like that. But it is definitely secondary to me to what the spectacle is like. Now, if the spectacle is artificial because the drivers don't really understand deployment yet, and that's what's the first couple of races are going to probably be like this. They're learning the cars, they're learning how to do it. You saw it in this race. The first half of the race was way crazier than the latter half of the race. But there's going to be changes brought in probably in the next, like, perhaps after China, to the regulations and stuff like that. But like, I think people couching that as F1 or backtracking fundamentally misunderstand how much research goes into this stuff. Obviously, they could have changed a lot of this stuff after testing. They knew about that. They needed to see what happened in race trim. They needed to see what's going on. And obviously, they were going to change aspects of this. Yeah. So, yeah, I think the sort of tabloidy conversations around this stuff need to be like piped down a little bit, because it's not this like F1 versus the fans versus the drivers thing. This is something that we're all going to have to figure out and learn. But I will say that the race was a lot more positive than what we saw in qualifying. I don't think cars should be driving at full tilt and then having the dynamo kick in and slow them down at the end of a straight. I'm not mad about that, but also these cars move so beautifully now. They look much better, dude, so much better than the past like 5 6
cars
years.
Even sitting still, the cars look gorgeous.
Yeah,
but This to me is like I've talked about this before. I fucking hated the previous era. I despised those cars. In part because their tendency to oversteer and like maybe the tires will work, maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Like when they were all hooked up, they were incredibly fast and nimble, but we've seen fast and nimble cars. Like, few things will match like the early 2000s F1 era where those things would whip around corners at speed and sort of like rattle themselves straight and then go rocketing down. Like we've seen that before, but like the cars this previous era with the ground effect, the lap times could be what they were. They always looked slow. They looked like you had to. It's like you were piloting a really fast aircraft carrier. Is the way the cars kind of handled, and you could see it in testing. These things look sporty. These things look closer to like, hey, I went down. I got the BRZ from the Toyota dealer. I got a really good deal on it. Let me see if I can make the back step out. Like they look sportier. They behave more like nimble, slightly like loose race cars. There's more oversteer now than their tendencies toward oversteer rather than understeer.
Yeah,
which is a little more interesting.
Well. They just eat corners faster.
Yeah, no, like I think the aesthetics and the look of the racing are night and day better than the previous era. The other thing that we should stress about Australia is this is going to be one of the toughest tracks for the power regulations because it doesn't have, in particular, the long back section where you're just running flat out all the way to 9 and then you flick it. There is no good place to... Ideally, you have lots of like heavy braking events that let you recover energy. Australia concentrates its braking events into a couple places, and then it has you running really fast the rest of the lap. So this was a torture test for the regulations and battery recovery. And so, yeah, the drivers are talking about how much management they're having to do, and it is a crazy amount. Jack Doohan was on the one of the pre-practice shows. Also, Jack Doohan, really good commentator.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like, very engaging speaker about F1. Great in the booth with Crofty. He was a blast. But he said, you don't see this on TV. But we've all raced Australia a lot in the video games, right? We all know this track pretty well. So you have the really sharp final corner, and then you exit that corner and you run flat out down the straight all the way to turn 1, and that's just how you do it. It's pretty straightforward. Doohan was saying you exit the corner and you go to 45% throttle.
This is for qualifying.
Every lap, you go to 45% throttle to the starting line, and then you give it full power. Otherwise, you'll run out of too much energy too quickly down the straight, and you won't reach the highest speed.
Right.
And so you come out of that corner where everything in you is like, hit it.
Yeah.
And they are pace managing. They are basically like someone in my Blue Sky mentions was like, they're hypermiling their F1 cars, which is kind of what they're doing. But no, Doohan's saying every lap, it's so counterintuitive. You exit this corner, you sort of like you partially lift halfway down the straight, and then you floor it. Otherwise, that car will like sputter and start to die, like where it should be fastest on the straight. And that's happening, versions that are happening around the track. So that is intense management.
It is. I think there's also a conversation about whether or not that is for Formula One and whether or not that is sporting.
I mean, that's exactly Verstappen's argument, right? Like, I want to be at full tilt all the time. That is F1.
And I definitely sympathize with that a bit. To play devil's advocate a little bit, that's also how tires work. You know what I mean? Like managing your how much you're putting in the tires is a fundamental aspect of this sport, which perhaps the previous generation would have said was ridiculous. You know what I mean? Whereas like Hamilton is such a good driver because his ability to do that. You know, lots of them are.
Also, I think it's interesting that the word artificial has been used a lot, I think, detrimental to the current regulations. I don't know if you guys remember DRS But that was the huge. I mean, just think about that. Like the drag reduction system, you can only use it when you're 1 second behind, and it promotes overtaking. What could have been more artificial? Like, I mean, I imagine people like lost their minds at this.
I mean, they did, but you can also extend it to like everything. The tires are designed to break down.
That too. Yeah, I mean,
like,
so the thing about DRS though is that like it was in one designated area of the track. Like this is your designated passing area. And we figured out ways to do it. The thing about the current regulations, I'm still trying to wrap my head around a lot of this stuff, but the fact that you have more of the track open to straight mode than DRS and you can use it at any time means that more of the character of the track gets to come through. And you don't have these sort of weighted areas that you did with DRS. And like you said, Danny,
kicking Zandvoort off the calendar just when its moment is arriving.
Which one?
Zandvoort.
Oh yeah. And again, like this is sample size of 1, right? So
and like you said, we have so many levers to tweak here, and I'm hoping that they, of course, they want to produce the best product that they can. That's how eyeballs is how Formula One makes money. One thing I did want to point out here, oh my God, we finally have a live battery graphic. This has been a drum I have been beating since maybe the first season of this podcast.
I think we had one briefly for ERS, but it wasn't
live.
Stick around. It wasn't live.
No.
Okay.
This is now, we actually get to see how much they're deploying, how much they're recovering, and the state of charge of their battery. This, I think, helps immensely with this, because what I'm still trying to wrap my head around is like what the driver is actually doing across a lap. Yes, a lot of the energy deployment is automated, but they do have that boost button that they can use, and then overtake, again, gives them even more boost to use when they have it. My hope is that eventually we get to some place where we sort of forget about this, and or it'll become commonplace enough that I can just watch the race and ascribe good moves and outcomes to the driver. Like when I see an overtake happen, I want to know why it did, which was very clear with DRS. But if too much of it is obscured, then you don't know what anything means. And you then don't know how impressed to be with something. So this is like where I'm like, I need to watch a little more, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. Overall, though, I think I'm relatively optimistic where things are.
Well, and I'd also say, Drew, like the artificial thing, it reminds me of that documentary that we've referenced before, where it's Keanu Reeves doing a documentary about digital filmmaking.
Yes,
and he's talking side by side. Yes, but there's this moment where James Cameron, because Keanu's like waxing nostalgic about like when it was all real and being real on set and digital's fake, and Cameron's like, when was it ever real? Like it's always been artificial. It's been an illusion. Like it's just this changes the character of it. And I have kind of the same relationship to F1. Like, when has it ever not been artificial? Mid 2000s, Ferrari was too dominant. They changed the tire formula for the series. They went from the grooved tires to the slicks, but that was laser targeted at nerfing Ferrari's advantage. The aero regulations that they brought in, they had gotten rid of them for a reason. They brought them back, in part because they wanted to change some of the airflow. But it was all these are all decisions made at the highest level about like, well, now this is where you should be able to find performance. This is what you should be managing as an F1 driver, and that's always changing how the cars race and changes how the racing looks. Like even the thing like where we're talking about, Drew, like saying that. You're not sure, you want more information, you don't know like what is the driver versus like what is the car's harvesting, but we've never been able to see the following effect of these things, that the drivers are so, like they say it is so pronounced that as you get closer to another car, you can't see it on TV, but you can't drive your car like worth a damn when you're in someone's wake, in that, especially in the previous era.
Yes. It's
always been, they sort of set the parameters and they change the racing from top down. And sometimes we say, well, that's good, pure engineering. And then there's times we say it's artificial. Yeah. It's artificial for the show. And I think there's a lot of baked in hypocrisy.
Oh yeah. A lot of it's nostalgia, a lot of it's rose-tinted glasses, and or just like fear of advancement. And I'm not here to I'm not blowing smoke up F1's arse and saying this is amazing, this is perfect, this is great. But I'd rather be on the bleeding edge and make mistakes than just be the status quo and be boring. And I just, on the stuff you've just mentioned there, Rob, the thing that stood out to me over this, and it's funny, we've gone like a lap into this race and we've already sort of jumped into the meat and potatoes of what people are discussing at the moment. But the thing that was night and day to me was these cars can follow.
Yeah.
Like there was none of this people dropping back. There was cars following 200 yards behind another car for lap after lap after lap and not complaining about it. Like that was very interesting. And good. Like you said, Australia is the second worst track of the 24 when it comes to like the ratio of ERS recovery against like the length of the track, right? Like the how much you're going full throttle. Jeddah's the only one that's worse. Monza is obviously one that comes up a lot, but some other ones just to have your heads sort of screwed on for. Suzuka is actually the fourth worst. So we're going to have sort of China coming in, which is right in the middle of the pack in terms of, Monaco's obviously the top one, right? Monaco, Singapore, Mexico City, Baku, it's all the street circuits. They're ones that, they're not going to have this issue with so much. But we are going to have China, and then we're going to have Japan. So Japan's also going to be a bit of a tricky one. And then there's probably going to be a gap because of, what's going on in Iran at the moment. So, and around Iran. So it's not the best bunch of races for this issue. So if they're not immediately making massive changes to some of the stuff, or it seems a little bit, like they're hedging their bets, it might have something to do with just the data points we're going to be getting from the first few races.
Well, we do have to get to China, so let me steam through the rest of this race. Hadjar pulls over on lap 11 with an engine problem causing a virtual safety car. Bunch of people pit. Ferraris stay out. Hamilton not into this. At least one of us should have come in. Interestingly, Antonelli is told to box opposite Lewis, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
Lap 15, Alonso retires and later rejoins, or was that Stroll?
Yeah. No, both of them.
Very rare you see a retirement and then rejoining
laps he came
down.
back out and he was still behind Bottas for a while because he hadn't done as many laps as him. So he was out.
Right.
Bottas was gone. Well, spoilers. But that he was still underneath him because he had to do more laps.
Right.
And then he came back in and then Stroll went out.
Lap 18, a little scrap between old rivals Lawson and Perez, banging wheels as they go around corners. Lawson eventually getting by. And then soon after, Bottas gets parked by the side of the pit entry. Another virtual safety car. Even more people pit here. Ferrari still stays out.
Yeah.
Lap
Hoping
20,
for a proper safety car, probably.
Yes. Verstappen gets by Lindblad into turn 9 into 6th place from 20th. Lap 21, even more fisticuffs between old rivals with Gasly and Ocon. Gasly earning some front wing damage. Lap 26 is when Leclerc finally comes in about halfway through, rejoining in 4th behind Antonelli. And 2 laps later, Russell, who already pitted, gets by Hamilton, who had not, into turn 9. Hamilton then pits and comes out in 4th. Yet another virtual safety car for some body work flying off of Perez's Cadillac. Lap 39. Almost said Borat. Bortoletto gets by Ocon on the start-finish straight for 10th place. And a lap later, Behrman gets by Lindblad in the same place for 7th. Lindblad trying to boost around the outside of the next right-hander, but Behrman has the inside and keeps it. And Bortoletto finally gets by Gasly at turn 1 into 9th. But that is how things end. George Russell wins the Australian Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli, the first Mercedes 1-2 since 2019. Then the 2 Ferraris of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton in 3rd and 4th. Lando Norris in the McLaren comes home 5th, and Max Verstappen getting all the way up to 6th. Oliver Behrman in the Haas in 7th. Arvid Lindblad in 8th place, his first race. Hats off to him.
Fantastic rookie start. He was great in practice. He was great in quali. He was great in the race.
Yeah, really I have high hopes for him. 9th place also, I'm taking hats off here. Gabriel Bortoletto, perhaps the most surprising performance to me was Audi. New, not new team, they took over Sauber, but new engine. And here they are at the sharp end of the grid. Pierre Gasly, the final points paying position in 10th. Then we've got Esteban Ocon, Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, Franco Colapinto, Carlos Sainz, and Sergio Perez, the last of the classified runners. Then Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, the DNF. Further DNFs, Valtteri Bottas and Isaac Hadjar, and then the DNSs of Oscar Piastri and Nico Hülkenberg, who we also
never got out of the pits.
Didn't mention, never got out of the pits.
Yeah.
And
a couple. Sorry, go on.
those are your drivers' championship standings, because we've just done one race. Constructors, Mercedes is on top with 43 points. Ferrari is in second with 27. McLaren's in third with 10. Red Bull is in fourth with 8. Gene Haas team up there in fifth place with 6 points. Then Racing Bulls with 4. Audi with 2 in seventh place. Alpine's got 1 point. They're in eighth place. And then the zeros of Williams, Cadillac, and Aston Martin.
Yeah, just a couple of points just because we covered a lot, obviously, as we were chatting about the stuff on the first lap. The Alonso start, incredible. He went from the back. I think he was up to like 7th or 8th or something, like just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't end up staying there very long, but that was pretty great. You mentioned Lindblad, of course, had a fantastic race as well. Ferrari's pit strategy seemed right. You know, they were faster than people expected, I think. You know, nobody expected the fights between Russell and Leclerc going lap after lap after lap. That was fantastic. The first half of the race was obviously a lot more action-packed than the latter half necessarily. The boost button didn't seem to be as effective as people wanted to, although the regulations are likely to change some of what the deployment stuff is going to be anyway. They might make the cars
some
slower.
of those helicopter shots, you could see exactly when they pressed it.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
That is true. Really angry at lap 34, virtual safety car. They had marshals on the track collecting pieces of debris, and the cars were at racing speed on a relatively blind left-hander. I thought that was outrageous, but you know, this is not the first time F1's done this in recent years with tractors on cars in Japan and everything else. So not awesome there. And well, it was just
in their defense. I do feel like the yellow had been out for a while.
Or virtual safety car, wasn't it? I think,
drivers need to be able, like to a degree. I like that we should be able to trust that you could send marshals onto the far edge of the track, and drivers would be able to sort of keep clear of any risk.
Yeah, they were just spread out so much. I guess it was a rotten. You know what I mean? There was no gap because there was cars flying right past them, but. Yeah, and then I'm trying to think what else in terms of the other...
We got to talk about the Ferrari pit decision.
Yeah. At the time, it seemed like, typical Ferrari, they've done it again.
Yet?
But then when the second time they didn't do it, it was like... Yeah, like when you look at where Hamilton's racing ending position was, I mean, he almost caught Leclerc. Like one more lap and he might have gotten them for the podium. At the time, it seemed like a mistake.
The second one, I have a hard time not.
Yeah, the second one I don't understand.
Because I was pulling this up while we were just talking. The first one, their pit strategy, it wasn't going to match what they were trying to do with the one stop, and I don't think they expected that Mercedes would be doing the one stop. The ability of particularly George just be like, fuck it, I can stay on the tires. I think he and Hamilton are very matched on that level of just like, just give me a target lap and I'll hit it. But the second VSC, there's a yellow well before the Ferraris come around to the pit entrance. It goes VSC as they are hitting turn 13. That is the moment you would have had the opportunity.
Hamilton says this over the radio. He's like, you would, even though the VSC had not come out, Hamilton's like, you knew this was going to happen.
And where the car was stranded, remember, when they went around again...
Yeah, the pit entrance.
The pit entrance was closed because Bottas's car was now being pushed down the pit entrance, so the pits were closed.
Somebody on the F1 Discord, the minute Bottas he pulled over there, said, "If I have the chance to do the funniest thing in the world now and put a safety car on, but close the pit lane immediately so Ferrari can't come in," and then it was the second lap, so they had their chance. You're right, but like even folks in our Discord were like, they should pit now because this pit might close. And
I think you at least try an offset strategy with one driver, particularly if one of them is like, I would like to be on fresh tires. I don't know that it would have changed the outcome that much because, and this thing I'll always say in defense of Ferrari, when you are they were beat by what, like 0.3, a half second in qualifying pace. When you have that differential, you have to try things that are going to make you look dumb when they don't pan out. I'm sympathetic to that. But this one did feel like the margin of paying full price for their pit stops was significant at the end of the race. Would they have won the race? Probably not.
No, probably not.
Do we have a chance to have them both be on that podium? I think we do. I think they could have. I think it might have cost at least Hamilton a position, and might have cost Leclerc a position.
Wow. All right. That is the Australian Grand Prix. We don't have a lot of news here. Everyone's just reacting to the first race. But Rob, we do have the IndyCar Minute. Do you want to take us through quickly what you noticed?
Yeah, it was an absolute blast. First of all, they're racing in Phoenix. It was a great short track oval race. Usual heroics from like Joseph Newgarden and all that. Really, really good stuff. Grosjean is back in the sport. But the Phoenix has returned
again.
Heroic driving from Christian Rasmussen, who has racked up this reputation of kind of being Max Verstappen-like, I guess, in that he will just fucking send it and make it stick. And then he can literally drive the wheels off these cars, where he will be on shot tires. The car has been hit, and somehow he's still maintaining position. That happened. Will Power just put him into a wall. And when Will Power's car broke, Rasmussen was able to continue leading the race for 15 more laps until finally his car basically fell apart, and you'd see he was now just letting the car just slide around the track because he could no longer really steer it. So it's just he was piloting it like a marble in one of those wells. But that's all fine and good. The thing I really want to zoom in on here is David Malukas, young driver from Chicago. This was sponsored by Good Ranchers, putting the word out about meat. Americans don't know about meat, and that's why Good Ranchers is out there letting them know you got to get that meat.
Right now. Meat's so hot right now.
And there's nothing you want more after racing a short track oval in Phoenix, Arizona.
No.
Than to have a man in a cowboy hat show up with a platter full of brisket while you're on the podium.
Oh my God. I thought milk was bad, but this might be worse.
So Dave Malukas is the first man to the podium. Remember, he's a young driver. He doesn't know, so he's being polite. The man in the cowboy hat offers the platter of brisket to Malukas. Malukas takes 2 pieces of brisket, starts chewing. I had to get my stopwatch out when I watched this for the second time.
My God.
As you know, as people may know, brisket is a tough cut of meat. It's why it's the final boss of what kind of grill master, barbecue master are you? Because brisket's a kind of a scrap cut that turns delicious if you know what you're doing and you have time. Otherwise, it's awful. Malukas is on the podium, gnawing on this brisket. And we're talking cheek bulging out like a baseball player.
His jaw just rotating around the world.
Now, Joseph Newgarden, that guy comes near him and he's stay away from me with that shit. He doesn't want brisket. I just drove a race. What are you talking about? Malukas is chewing. He is chewing on that brisket for the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Oh my God.
As the podium celebration is happening, he takes the champagne and starts trying to guzzle it to loosen up the brisket, and he can't do it. And the commentators start acknowledging it. They're well, Malukas is still working on chewing.
His big boy bites.
And the broadcast ended.
And he's still chewing.
He hadn't finished.
Oh my gosh.
Never, as far as we can tell, he never got it down. He was just gnawing
He's still
on
chewing today.
It was one of the funniest fucking things.
I have to watch that.
The Firehawk mascot's coming out. There's everyone's celebrating.
gosh.
There's interviews happening. And you got Malukas just awkwardly trying to figure out how he's going to
spit it out, mate.
He's thinking about it, but every time he thinks about spitting it out, he's like, maybe this swig of champagne could be the solution to my problems.
Reminds me
of
of
the funniest fucking things I've ever seen.
Who's the uncle in Napoleon Dynamite? What's his name again? With the football, he wants to. I could throw a football over that mountain. Uncle Rico.
Yeah.
Oh, the actor for that is vegetarian. So remember he was eating that steak. He's always eating steaks.
Oh my god.
There's like you can see him like chewing, and then like he spits it. He's always spitting it out. He's doing work. You know what I mean? And he's like, but he's spitting it out all the time. You can spit if you can spit it out in the movie and get away with it. You can spit it out. No one's gonna think any less of you.
Imagine
buddy.
him looking around. Is there any like?
I don't know.
Trash can?
I feel like you spit out the race sponsors. Offering,
oh yeah, okay.
That probably does cause issues, but at the same time,
if you chew it for 3.5 minutes, it's not also a great advertisement.
What
for,
are you doing?
It's not fucking Wrigley's. It's not like they're selling the steak based on how long you get to enjoy it in your mouth.
Like they should have made sure those guys had the juiciest melt in your mouth kind of steak, but instead they're just like, no. I don't know. Here's some brisket I threw on the grill for 20 minutes.
The steak that lasts forever. It's it's like the gobstopper of steaks, the never-ending gobstopper of brisket. Unbelievable.
All right, Danny, let's make this not the never-ending episode of this podcast.
Yes, that's
and
fair.
take it to China.
Yeah, so honestly, like the thing with these track walks is I based them off so much off of sort of established norms that we understand, and not being silly about this, but like literally, it's really difficult to do that right now. What we know about China, of course, is that it's been around for 20 years plus. 2005 is the first. Yeah, China. Yeah, one of the newer countries. The Shanghai circuit, has been around since 2005. It apparently Shang means high, which also confuses me because now I'm like, does that mean did we add the high? No, they call it Shanghai too, right? I don't know how that happened. But yes, the track is based off of the symbol for Shang, I guess. It's outside the city, 5.45 kilometers. That's about 3.39 miles. 56 laps. The two areas that are sort of the most interesting, and I'm going to add a flavorful third. The first is the first opening four corners, which is this very strange, dynamic, multi-apex downhill corkscrew to the right and then to the left. Some of the drivers were talking about the front's not gripping as much as they'd like. This is a part of the track where you really lead the car with the front grip, so that's going to be interesting. And then you power out of turn 4 with and with these high torque cars, this could be a little bit tricky for people during quali and race trim as well. The obviously the other big one is that they have this massively long straight, 1,170 meters. It's 1,279 yards, so it's like 11 football fields long. This is in American parlance. This is a very, very long straight. The super clipping conversations are going to be crazy because they're definitely going to get 3/4 of the way down this, or they'll be doing what Rob was talking about, where they're not hitting full beans out of that.
Drew, for next week
corner,
and you should do this in every race. Look up what is the largest aircraft you can land on the longest straight.
Oh, that's great. Circuit. That's great. You could 1,200. I mean 1,200. What 1,100
this one I
meters
feel you could land
short.
Pretty decent. I don't know. Like, so you see some of the planes that do those like mountain landings. Ridiculous. Yeah. So I don't know, but this one feels like you'd land a proper jet on this back straight.
I don't know if you'd be legally allowed to do a passenger jet on a less than 1,100 meters.
We've got Microsoft Flight Simulator. We should just try it out.
Just do it.
Hell
yeah. You got like a King Air on that thing easy, but do you want to try an Airbus?
Yeah,
give it a go. So fewer straight mode zones as well. There was a little bit of controversy over that area of Sector 2 in Melbourne being used for the straight mode. They actually, after practice, the FIA said, we're not going to allow you to do it. The teams were up in arms because they were like, well, all of our battery deployment is based on the fact that we can use straight mode in this area, that fast palm tree part on the other side of the lake. So they actually went back on it. The sort of equivalent is Sector 2 here in China, which is the drivers love, like turns 8, 9, all that whole area. They absolutely love it. But it's clearly not straight, so they haven't added straight mode in there. The straight mode sections, there's 4 of them. They're on purely straight parts of the track. So that might also add to the issues. But yeah, deployment here similar to It's right in the middle. It's right in the middle of terms of like how many braking zones there are when it comes to getting the battery recharged. So it's going to be a different type of race for sure.
Well, we didn't have races in 2020 through 2023 at this circuit, but the last 5 winners have been Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, and Lewis Hamilton.
2 Australians, huh?
The overall in my statistics, last 5 years, this is a top 5 track for Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso. Bottom 5 track for Sergio Perez. It's a top 5 for Haas and a bottom 5 for Racing Bulls. And then the top 3 teams statistically have been Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes.
I think Racing Bulls are, in quality, they look like best of the rest in the mid-pack. I think Lawson's start sort of doesn't do them justice for how well they did in the race. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do in China.
Yeah. My last 2 personal ratings of the track have been a 2 out of 4 for strategy race. But like you said, Danny, we're kind of throwing everything out the window of what we know about these tracks. So anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does.
Yes, Mr. Walker.
All right. So we did driver standings. Now it's time for the standings of our. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we get to the fantasy league, weather.
Oh yeah.
This is a sprint weekend, so we got 4. Exciting sessions. We got the sprint qualifying, the sprint, the qualifying, and the race. So just 1 practice session. Good luck.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. This is going to be bedlam already.
Looks like very low chance of precipitation, except for the afternoon of Sunday at 20%. Temperatures over the weekend are looking looks like around 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 Celsius.
It's kind of how China is. China, we don't tend to get that much weather variation.
Yeah, and the wind fairly low, maybe a maximum of 10 miles an hour on Saturday. But yes, the fantasy league. I'm gonna run down the top 3 here.
Okay.
From the first round. By the way, if you want to join the official Shift+F1 podcast league, you can do so using the link in the show notes. Okay, in third.
He's smiling already. What is it? What did I say?
In third, we have Hostile Takeover.
Oh, that's good.
It's pretty good. In second, We Are Checking.
Okay, yeah, We Are Checking. Who used to say that? We Are Checking.
Ferrari.
Is that it? Ferrari,
Yep.
right? Yeah. We Are Checking.
And in first, Latifi for My Bunghole.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. We love a Beavis and Butthead reference.
Sure do. We also love it when you send us emails, shift.f1podcast@gmail.com.
And the Latifi reference, now that I think about it.
Wow,
He's not in F1
throwback.
anymore. Yeah.
Also, f1.cool/emails. You can also hit us up on the socials using the links in the show notes. That is us around the internet. Danny, you want to take it around the world?
Let's race around the world. Yeah. We have people staying over at the moment, so I can't wait to hear what they thought of that.
Great. The World Rally Championship is in Naivasha for Rally Safari Kenya.
Nice.
Sorry, Safari Rally Kenya. The NASCAR O'Reilly Series is in...
O'Reilly! Sorry.
Please make that...
It's the Irish national anthem. I have to sing it.
Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the... I think it's just called the Leuna.
That's it.
Yeah. Exclamation
The
point.
Leuna. Okay. The Leuna! Is that a hotel? Who knows?
Not sure. It doesn't. There's not even a number afterward. I don't even know how far they're racing.
They're racing the Leuna, though. You don't know how long the Leuna is?
Guess not. IndyCar is in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium. Rob, do you know what that means in terms of the race venue?
I don't fully get it. They keep advertising it like if they did a Miami, where it's like we built a track outside the Cowboy Stadium.
Okay, great.
Okay. How do you spell Leuna?
Capital L, lowercase I, then no space between the capitals UNA.
Oh, Leuna.
Yep.
Okay.
IndyCar's race, by the way, is the Java House Grand Prix of Arlington. We've also got NASCAR. They're at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway also
Yeehaw.
for the Pennzoil 400 presented by Jiffy Lube.
Love some lube.
And Formula One, maybe you've heard of it. They're racing this weekend. By the way, apologies. I said the wrong days.
For all of those.
For all the sessions of Australia. I have looked it up now. I've confirmed.
Okay.
It's still crazy. Thursday, March 12th at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time is free practice 1. Then Friday, March 13th, 3:30 a.m. is sprint qualifying, and then 11 p.m. is the sprint. Saturday, March 14th, qualifying is at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, and the race is on Sunday, March 15th at 3 a.m. Eastern. And again, this is all in America. The only way to watch for F1 is on Apple TV Plus. We do recommend linking your Apple account to an F1 TV account because that is, my opinion, the best way to watch the sessions. I took a look at the Apple TV app. For qualifying, at least, I was not able to see multi-view, and also there's a Ford ad at the top and a little bug in the corner for Ford the whole session. I think I saw a picture a buddy of mine sent me of multicam on during the race, so maybe you can do that on the Apple TV
So were
app.
you watching the Sky Sports feed?
So I watched it on the F1 TV app, which is why I recommend this, because you can change to the Sky commentary. And if you're new to this, if you use, because Apple TV's feed only allows English and Spanish, and the English is the official F1 commentary team. If you use the F1 TV app, you can change it from English, the default, to English International, which is the Sky F1 team, which we prefer.
I don't know if this. Well, and here's the thing. It's hard. Exactly. A lot of people prefer the other one. I think I'm probably moving over to F1 TV soon enough as well. But just so you know, and I don't know if this is the case inside the UK and Ireland, but on the Apple TV, you can get the Sky feed.
Oh.
But it's not, like, including the pre-show, which was never available. I have never been able to access that. It is hidden. If you are in Apple TV, type Sky F1, and there is literally a channel, and it is the Sky F1 broadcast top to bottom. So you can watch it live. Yeah, so it has the commentary, it has Brundle, it has Croft on Apple TV, but it also has their pre-show, including the track walk with Brundle, which I have not seen in forever.
And the Sky Pad with Anthony Davidson.
Exactly.
Really?
All that stuff. Yeah, 100. So I was watching, and a friend of mine was watching, and he was like, I'm watching the Sky feed. And I'm like, you're on Apple TV? And he's like, yeah. And he said it popped up for me, and he sent me a screenshot. It didn't pop up for me, but when I searched it, I found it. And then the next day for the race, it didn't pop up for him, but he searched it and he found it. So it's in there, but you have to look it up.
I hope they keep this. If not,
be
cool, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yahoo Anime rules.
Labor's International Union of North America. I forgot. That's what LIONA is.
Okay.
Great to see trade unions using their money to sponsor races. I'm sure that's exactly what their members wanted.
Exactly. Okay.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
the workers love the racing.
That's what's going on this weekend. Danny, what happened this day in history?
This day in history, March 10th, the opening race of the 1991
Oh, we're doing 10th? We're doing recording day and not published day?
We're doing recording day. We're
right.
mixing it up.
All right.
The opening day of the 1991 season took place on this day with the United States Grand Prix in Phoenix.
Hey.
Senna won in the McLaren Honda from Prost in second in his Ferrari. There were some notable new faces at the race. Future world champion Mika Hakkinen made his first Grand Prix start for Lotus and impressed by qualifying in 13th. It was also the first Formula One race for the Jordan team. The 1996 Australian Grand Prix was notable for the stunning debut performance of newcomer Jacques Villeneuve in his Williams car. The son of legendary driver Gilles Villeneuve, which of course we all know the Canadian Grand Prix circuit is named after. Jacques arrived as the IndyCar champion and immediately outshone teammate Damon Hill to take pole. Keep IndyCar out of F1.
Yeah.
For goodness sake. Hill beat him in the race, but the talking point was Martin Brundle's spectacular crash in the Jordan. At the first corner, he was flat out doing 290 kilometers an hour when he hit the back of Johnny Herbert and David Coulthard and was launched into the air, ripping his car in two.
Or I don't know about Herbert, but yeah.
could have been a very different commentary team if that had gone differently. Yeah, if I've never seen this crash, it's like that one Fernando Alonso had in Melbourne, but imagine him hitting a million cars while he's doing it. Boy. Very bad. My favorite part of the story, and maybe something Oscar Piastri was able to replicate. Remarkably, Brundle was not hurt and made a restart in the spare car.
Oh, the spare car.
Yeah.
I do kind of wish we had spare cars these days.
Crazy. Yeah.
All right. Well, I would ask for final thoughts, but I think we've gotten a lot of our thoughts, and the show is running long. If you'd like to support the show and get access to all of our bonus episodes, the early ad-free version of the podcast, and the official Shift+F1 Discord, you can do so over at patreon.com/ShiftF1. Have a good race weekend, everyone. We will see you all next week.